Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. Truckers, what's the creepiest thing you've seen while out on the road? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. My dad has been a truck driver for 30 plus years. He's never had any accidents until a few months ago. He works in the oil fields out in West Texas. There are lots of accidents in this area and many are fatal, so he was driving along the highway going about 70 miles per hour, which is the speed limit in this area. First, he's nearly sideswiped. Then a few minutes later, he sees a semi blowing through a stop sign. Behind the semi is a Ford truck. The driver is looking at his passenger, isn't paying attention, and passes the stop sign. He starts to brake, but of course my dad isn't able to stop in time, so he turns his truck to the right and T-bones the truck on the rear passenger side, drags the truck down the road into an intersection, then nearly collides with another semi that was driving in the oncoming lanes. Both trucks are totaled. He showed me the video from his truck after, and holy crap, it was insane. The other driver clearly passes the stop sign and never looks to his left. My dad avoids hitting the driver's side door by just a few seconds. At the time of impact, his truck just explodes. The hood flies open, the windshield cracks, fluid just flying everywhere. Amazingly, his truck did not catch fire, and because of his quick actions, the two guys in the Ford truck lived. Had he not turned his truck when he did, they would have been dead on impact. I have a story from my cousin. We live in Pennsylvania near the Keystone restaurant and truck stop, but this happened about a few miles away, more in town. She was on her way home from class, and she was first in line at the traffic light. It turns green, she starts to press her foot on the gas pedal so she can go, and out of nowhere a semi-truck comes barreling through a red light. He almost killed her. If she had gone just a little faster, or if he had been there a mere few seconds before, he would have hit her going to the driver's side and likely killed her on impact. Seconds later, a police car came from somewhere and chased the trucker down. I was unsure of why he was speeding through a 45-mile-per-hour area with 4 traffic lights in general, but he did it anyway. He may have been drunk or just an idiot driver who thought he could make it through a late yellow light, but regardless, it was a shit-your-pants moment, no doubt. Her father, an emergency responder and firefighter, told her to wait just a few seconds and make sure no one is still going through before you go on a green light. I followed that advice to the best of my ability. So does she. Not to mention, since our area does a lot of coal mining, we have a lot of coal truck accidents. I'm terrified of coal trucks. I've passed by too many by the side memorials for people who have been hit by coal truckers. One exit we have is littered with traffic lights and caution signs because it's a common area for coal truck accidents. I wish they would do that more, because in some areas it should be illegal to drive coal trucks. Super dangerous. My dad said his coworkers plan their routes and scope them out because they're worried they'd get into a bad place and wreck. Needless to say, we aren't big fans of semi-trucks and tractor-trailers in general. Down here we get truckers who are just plain rude, so honestly, I love whenever I hear stories about responsible drivers who do their best and err on the side of caution, follow the rules, etc. I avoid passing trucks on highways, and I always keep a good distance from them if I can. I just feel super uncomfortable, and I hate it when they pass you. I can literally feel the car being blown over by the wind to the side of the road when they do. I was not the trucker, but victim to something very creepy from a trucker. So, my boyfriend and I are driving on this empty country road pretty late at night on a weekend day around 11 p.m. We were going at the speed limit of 70 kilometers an hour. A semi catches up to us from behind and tailgates us so closely that we can't even see his front license plate through our back window. There was maybe a distance of 2 meters between our vehicles. Not safe at all. So my boyfriend, who's driving, tips on the brakes just enough to make the brake lights go on for a second to signal the semi to back off a bit, which is perfectly legal here in Germany. The semi does indeed back off for a moment, but then closes up again almost immediately. My boyfriend again uses the brake, this time for a little longer, to gently slow us down to 60 kilometers per hour. Semi reacts the same way again, but leaves a tiny bit more space between the vehicles this time. Still, by far, not enough to be safe. We just speed up to 70 kilometers per hour again and hope we can lose this idiot soon when turning onto the freeway or the Autobahn. So, after maybe 2 kilometers or so, we reach the freeway. To get onto it, we need to make a left turn off the country road and into the entrance ramp. In the left turn lane in front of us is another semi, which we hadn't noticed anywhere in front of us before. So we must have been quite a long way ahead of us, but whatever, right? Doing the left turn very slowly, and I think maybe he carries some sensitive load. Whatever. We're not in a hurry, so we slow down too, and follow the semi into the freeway entrance ramp. The other semi behind us follows suit. In the curve of the entrance ramp, the semi in front of us slows down even more and finally comes to a full stop. We have to stop too, obviously. For a second I'm thinking, damn, what's wrong now? How annoying, until I notice that the semi behind us has closed up on us and blocked us in. Let me paint you a picture of this situation. It's 11 p.m., pitch black outside in the middle of the effing nowhere, with no cars around wide and far. We're on this curved entrance ramp. To the left and right there are guardrails, and behind those are just dense thickets and bushes, maybe 2 to 3 meters high. We're in my tiny little Chevy Aveo, wedged in between 2 huge semis who are, by the way, positioned so that there's no way for us to get by them, even in my tiny car, and have just had some kind of non-verbal altercation with one of them. Yeah, that's when my heart started racing, and I wondered if the police could take less than 30 minutes to arrive if we called them. Thankfully, my boyfriend had the presence of mind to lock our doors, yay for the central locking system, because just seconds later, the driver from the semi behind us, the tailgating asshole, came stomping up to our car, hammering against the driver's side window, and trying to effing yank the door open. Being unsuccessful, he angrily screamed at my boyfriend to come out and talk about this. Yeah, sure, we'll jump right out. Meanwhile, I'm in full stress mode, fumble my phone out of its mount to try and get it to stop navigation and start filming with trembling hands. When I finally manage it, the angry asshole trucker has apparently given up and is stomping back to his truck. After a few seconds, the semi in front of us starts moving again, and finally we're free to go and enter the freeway. Honestly, that was one of the scariest moments of my life, and I'm just thankful to live in Germany where people don't run around carrying firearms everywhere. Well, first of all, if that story happened as is, the behavior of those drivers was abhorrent. That being said, your comment on gun safety could be right, but what if it was the other way around? What if they smashed in your windshield? Maybe you would have wanted one. I'm not a trucker, but my dad was for 15 plus years, and he tells this story all the time. One night, around 2 a.m., my dad was hauling coal in a semi off a place called 22 Mountain. He got super tired and decided to pull off and get some rest before finishing his haul the next morning. Just as he was drifting off to sleep in the bed in the back of his truck, he heard the song "I Love You Baby" by Frank Sinatra start to play right outside his sleeper cabin. Considering that this mountain was pretty much deserted, even on its busiest days, he was pretty confused and went to the front of the truck to see where it was coming from. There, smack dab in the middle of the road, was a woman who appeared to be dancing. She had on a white party dress, her hair was cut in a bob, and one high heel, as the other one was nowhere in sight. My dad started the truck and sped off, knowing that something about her wasn't right. As he was driving off, he claims that he drove straight through the woman like she was made of mist, and saw her and his rearview mirror virtually unaffected. This happened in 1998. I was 12, and we were moving from Indiana to New Mexico in early mid-June. We were moving ourselves, so we had 2 of the biggest U-Haul trucks you can get with a trailer on each. One had a sailboat that my grandpa gave us, and the other had our minivan. Both trucks were full. We were just outside St. Louis, Missouri, and it was kind of an overcast, rainy day. I was in the truck with my mom driving, while my dad was in the truck behind us with my little brother. We communicated via CB radios. The highway was pretty packed, but moving nicely. Suddenly, this jackass comes speeding up next to us at an insane speed and starts trying to push us off the road. We were on the outside lane, and right next to the right of us was a pretty steep hill that went into some forest. This jerk, and I want to say a truck towing a decent-sized boat, was trying to push us off the road so hard that the truck literally tilted up off 2 wheels, and we tilted over the edge of the hill as this monster sped by us. I know this because I saw the hill looming below me, and my dad and brother saw everything from the truck directly behind us. Luckily, we did not go over the edge, and the truck was able to get back on all its wheels. My mom and I were absolutely terrified. She said she looked at me, and I was white as a sheet. I had never been that scared in my life, to my knowledge. The people who drove up next to us after the crazy people had sped off ahead, weaving through traffic faster than everyone else, gave us this weird look like, what the F were you doing? Like we were in the wrong. That still pisses me off 21 plus years later. We were able to get off at the next exit and go to a truck stop where I was shaking like a leaf and my mom had a panic attack. I'm pretty sure I had a mild one as well. We came out relatively unscathed, but yeah, whoever that was can F the F off forever. So I'm just finishing up my usual shift actually. About an hour or so from town, I grab myself a burger. As soon as I get back on the road, my buddy starts going off on the radio about seeing some weird shit. I didn't think anything of it. It gets lonely out at night, right? But then, as soon as we cut off, right out of nowhere, this woman steps in front of my truck, right in the middle of the woods too. So I'm like, whoa, and I slam the brake, but over she goes. I got out to check on her, and she's totally mangled. But then the shit gets worse, because this other woman comes up behind me and bites a chunk off my shoulder. It must have been a tweaker or something, but anyway, I booted back to the truck and got the hell out of Dodge. Damn, this shit hurts. Come to think of it, I'm feeling a bit out of it, and my driving is off. I hope I don't bump into some bikers or a cop before I shack up for the night. While the story may seem like it's not that creepy, it was insanely creepy for my friends and me. A few months ago, me and about 5 friends rented a car and took a 10-hour road trip up to New Jersey for a music festival. We chose to leave out late, like 9 p.m., so that we could avoid most of the traffic by driving through the night. After driving through Ohio and parts of West Virginia, we were in Pennsylvania. Somehow or another, my buddy's GPS was set to avoid toll roads, so we ended up driving back roads for close to 50 miles through Pennsylvania. Growing up in Kentucky, back roads are not scary to us anymore. We've seen it all. After a while, we started driving through these small, isolated towns. Tons of houses, but no gas stations or stores, etc. It was around 2 to 3 a.m. at this point, and we noticed that none of those houses had lights on in the houses, and none of them had cars in the driveway. Yes, it was very early in the morning, but for not a single house to have a kitchen light or porch light or something, it felt really odd. The weirdest part was that every house we passed had a candle in every window. Being 6 adult men, we were all pretty creeped out and didn't really know why. The candles in the windows were what really kind of creeped us out for some reason. Does anyone know what those mean? My mother is a long-haul trucker, and her husband is as well. I actually went on the road with them for about 3 months when I was in my early teens. It was a really neat experience, pissing in bottles, watching my mother read a book while she was driving, and watching my stepfather shave while he was driving. I remember one night my stepfather and I were sleeping in the back bunkers, and I remember hearing over the PA someone yelling to be careful that there was a big rig going southbound in the northbound lane. My stepfather woke me up to tell my mother to be careful, and he just started screaming at her. It turns out it was her who was asleep and driving down the wrong lane on the freeway. Some other interesting things. We were supposedly hauling gun parts into Nevada. We had a 3-car armed escort. We delivered the gun parts to a tiny truck stop in the middle of the Nevada desert. When we got there, the escort taped up our windows and unloaded the truck. We were not allowed out of the truck and were not allowed to leave until we were completely unloaded. We had speculated that we might have actually been hauling missile parts because the security was really tight. They had hauled gun parts before and had an escort before, but never 3 armed cars. It was cool because we got to bypass all way stations, and we were even allowed to speed. It kind of felt like we were doing something super important and exciting, although in all probability it was probably something not all that interesting, just sensitive. Lot lizards, truck stop hookers, were another interesting thing I was introduced to. Finally, my mom and I parked at the truck at the Flying J to get some food. We ate and came out. It was evening time and the parking lot was kind of empty. Seemingly out of nowhere, this massive black man steps out from behind a parked car and starts crying. My mother was already reaching in her bag for the .380 she always carries with her whenever she left the truck alone. The man, I think, realized my mom was reaching for her gun, and he just said, "Please, ma'am, I'm awfully hungry, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to bother you, I swear, I just need some food. Haven't eaten in days. I hate to ask you, ma'am, but please, can you buy me a burger?" The guy was full-on sobbing, and my mother, who was obviously shaken, said she didn't have any money. I had $50 spent on me, and I felt he was genuine, so I gave him the entire $50. The man just started crying again. He took the money and said, "God bless you both," and he went into the truck stop. My mother said I was stupid, and he was going to spend it on crack. Yep. But I said I think he was really starving. We watched him, and sure enough, he went in and went directly to the food counter and ordered probably a dozen burgers. That was a good day.